It's a kind of early science fiction novel where I'm not that familiar with Ian Foster. I think the only other book I've come across by him is about I think it's A Passage to India. I think that was by him, and that's yeah. So I don't know how much science fiction he's written, but it's interesting because it's
amazing how insightful they can be. All right, it just goes to show you what can happen when you let your imagination take over, you know.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting as well just to see what people thought life would be like, and you know, trying to compare it and stuff. And I think, you know, it's easy because all the technology we have now, I suppose, like earlier versions of it's kind of predictable in a way what life, because people have been predicting sort of, you know, video messaging and stuff like that for years. Yes. And
all we're short actually, Tom, is what some of the famous words from Star Trek. Beam me up, Scotty. Well, you're just after being beamed into our room here now, Tom.
Yeah, it feels like it.
That's what they do. I mean, when they said beam me up, Scotty, they didn't necessarily mean that you have to take all the matter and all the atoms and move them there. But virtually, you know, we're in the same room. So effectively, it's science fiction coming through.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. Yeah.
Shall we progress, folks?
I compare Zoom actually to our Noah's Ark.
Oh yeah.
Moira, I've sent 2 messages to you in the chat.
Insofar as the people who survived back in the time of the flood were people fortunate enough to get on Noah's Ark, and for outliers who weren't even known of at the time, these were the survivors. But no, what we will find is that the people who will be telling the stories in 100 years' time are those who will be around in 100 years' time, or our grandchildren. Our grandchildren have life expectancies of more than 100 years. So Paul is giving me the thumbs up. Are you ready to go for the second part? So first, Moira.
Yeah, we're all ready. I've been waiting for you. I've been messaging you saying...
Beg your pardon. We'll get going. So myself and Tom, we're having a very interesting conversation that we'll continue as part of the show. So Moira, give me the 1, 2, 3, and I'll give the introduction and introduce Tom.
Right, let's see. Let's get in the right place. Approximately. Okay, Ted, 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome back to part 2 of this week's edition of the Talk Show for Talkers, and we're delighted to say that we have a guest with us today. And what a momentous date to have this guest, because yesterday, the 22nd of October, was the Toastmasters' birthday. And the first guest that we're having on this show, as not selected, but our very hard-working public relations manager in District 71, has used her initiative. And this is not nepotism, no, by any stretch of the imagination, because she had to decide who was going to come forward, and she did that by way of a vote, or not even a vote. It was, I think she put numbers in a hat and pulled one out. And the gentleman who has been pulled out as the VPPR for this month is the Right Honourable Tom Hebert, and Tom is a member of SPA Speakers. And Tom, you're very welcome to the Talk Show for Talkers.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and it's our pleasure. And I know that in the conversation that we've had just before we came on live, we were discussing some interesting stuff. But what I'm going to delve into now, Tom, is I want to see and we want to hear your story of Toastmasters. So what brought you to Toastmasters?
Well, I've been a member for about 2.5 years now. And I joined, I think it was back in 2018 or 17 in Leamington Spa in Warwickshire in England. And the reason I joined was because I delivered a best man speech at a friend's wedding, and I really enjoyed it. But I thought afterwards I could have done a lot better. And I come from a family of my dad's always been quite into his public speaking, and my granddad and some of my cousins and things, and it's always seemed to be something that we've done, and I thought I quite like to get better at, and so I was looking at things to do at the time, and it was my wife actually found Spa Speaks, just looked at clubs in the area, and said, "Oh, why don't you go along and see what it's like?" And I did, and yeah, I pretty much signed up on the spot. So yeah, that's where it came from, really.
Well, good testimonial on behalf of Toastmasters, and well done to wife for recognising that Toastmasters is a superb organisation. And if you don't mind me asking, Tom, did you volunteer to do any more best man speeches?
Well, to be honest, it's more a case of being picked. I haven't been picked to do any more since that one. I did actually get married the other week, so I did a speech at my own wedding, but it wasn't the best man speech. You
must have been the best man at your own wedding, Tom.
Sorry?
You must have been the best man at your own wedding.
Well, I got to deliver the groom speech, but my brother was the best man, so he did the best man speech. But I got to do my own then as well. So it was good because I'd managed to put my skills into practice and do the thing that I joined Toastmasters to do.
And what has been the greatest benefit to you? So outside of being paid the best man speeches at weddings.
I think for me, improving my public speaking presentation skills has been great, because when I've done it at work, I'm now a lot better and confident at doing it. But I think what I didn't quite expect was all the other benefits I get from joining the club, because it's not just public speaking that Toastmasters develops. It's leadership, organizational, time management, even writing skills from doing writing speeches. And I've really felt like I've benefited from all of those different aspects. I've become so much better at organizing myself, managing my time. It's just been all these, what you term soft skills that you'd use in business, are all the kind of things that Toastmasters focuses on developing. It's just been brilliant for that.
Well done. And what has been your biggest Toastmasters challenge?
Well, at the moment, so this is the second time I've been our VPPR, what I'm trying to do at the moment is launch our new website and integrate that with our sort of social media channels. And it's proving to be a bit of a challenge. There's lots of different moving parts to it, and it's quite a big project. And it's something that's actually been in the works for a year or two now, because the previous VPR was doing it as well. And we're hoping to do it by Christmas this year. So I suppose, launching the new website is it's an ongoing challenge at the moment, but I think when it's done, it'll be great, because we've got a great new website in the pipeline.
And is that your business, Tom? Do you develop websites, or is it just a hobby that you have?
No, so I actually work in communications, so and PR. So it's actually similar to what being a VPR was kind of a good fit for my job role. But I do website editing and stuff like that. I don't really design websites, but I do update them and manage them and things like that. So it's something I've got experience in. We've actually we've got somebody else to build the website for us, and it's just a case of moving the content across and things like that. But these things always are a lot more work than you think they are, because there's so much information that needs to go on the website in order for it to be working well. But I think at the moment it's really important to have a good online digital presence for a club.
Yeah, you're so right, actually. And you did say in your bio that you're also teaching yourself coding.
Yeah. So yeah, that's actually something I started to do in lockdown. Actually, I kind of toyed with it in the past, and I was reading. I got a newsletter, and it said a list of hobbies you could take up when you're in lockdown. One of them was learning to code. And if you have a look, there's loads of resources online, including loads of free resources that enable you to do this. And the reason I decided to do it was because I just needed to get better at using computers and understanding how they work and stuff like that. And I thought learning to code would be a good way of doing it. But it's a massive subject, and there's lots of different coding languages. So I'm just doing the basic stuff, nothing, and I can't program, defense systems or anything like that. It's just designing websites in their very basic form and stuff, but it's good fun.
Yeah, well done. So with regards to Toastmasters, Tom, if you could, what would you change?
I suppose if I have one difficulty, I suppose I was using Basecamp today, and I don't always find that the easiest to use. It's a bit slow and clunky, and I just wonder whether it's possible to make it a bit easy to use. And I also wonder that because if I'm finding it difficult to use, there might be people who are a bit older than me who perhaps a bit less used to using digital tools and stuff, who might find it even more difficult. And I know some of our members, I think, sometimes aren't quite sure how to use it, so they don't use it at all. So I suppose if I could change one thing about Toastmasters, it would be to improve Basecamp and make it a bit more user-friendly.
That's an excellent suggestion. And I noticed that you looked at the screen, and the three other people online here with you, when you said people a little bit older than you.
Well, no, I wasn't thinking about the people here. I was thinking
No.
Members of that
Well, there's certainly one of us, Tom, who's a bit of erudite when it comes to things digital. But the other two people over, Paul and Moira, they're wizards. Moira is a wizard. Moira is a wizard at this kind of stuff.
Sorry, that's a bit of a generalization, really. Actually, to be honest with you, the person who struggles the most with it isn't actually that old. She's just a bit older than me, actually. So yes, you're right. I think it can be difficult to learn how to do digital tools, but it cuts through all age groups.
It can be, yeah. What keeps you coming to Toastmasters?
Sorry, can you say it again?
What keeps you coming back to Toastmasters?
I think it's just being part of a community and group. We have a really nice club with some really nice people, and it's just great to be able to get together every couple of weeks, and it's like seeing friends and chatting through, and it's just good to feel part of something, really. It's become a bit more difficult recently because obviously we can't see each other in person, and everything has to be online. And some of our we've lost a lot of members, I think, quite understandably, because everyone spends all day on Zoom now, so they don't want to spend another 2 hours on Zoom in the evening. But I think that it's at the moment it's so easy to become isolated at the moment that it's even more important now that we try and make the effort to see people and do things socially. So and Toastmasters offers a really good way of doing that. And actually the fact that we've had a drop in membership as a VPPR has sort of redoubled my efforts and desire to try and keep the club moving and see it through this difficult patch, because I'd hate for the club to fall into not working, and that, it's a really good club, so I really want it to keep going.
Yeah, well done, Tom. That's a lovely sentiment to express on the talk show for talkers, and well done to you. And as I mentioned at the top of this interview, this is an historic time that we're in, because it's also the 96th anniversary of Toastmasters as an organization, and you, Tom Hebert, are the first gentleman that we have interviewed on behalf of the PR manager of District 71, Elizabeth Jordan, and I think she made a fantastic choice. I'm delighted that you were the person who was fortunate to be in this very first show, and it's been a pleasure talking to you, Tom. And that is the end of our interview. But I think Paul O'Mahony, Division A Director, wishes to have a word with you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you as well. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Paul, did you want to ask Tom something? You're muted.
Excuse me, Tom, it's in relation to the website you're working on. Can I ask what you're building it on, or what it's being built on?
I'd have to go and check. I think it's a WordPress site, but we've got somebody external to build it for us. It was something that was all sorted out. I have to admit, it's something that was all sorted out in the last Toastmasters period by my predecessor, so I'd have to double check. But I'm more than happy to drop you an email if you want to share an email address and just send you a bit more details and stuff.
I was just intrigued. The reason I asked the question is that I don't understand what the difficulty about knocking up a WordPress website is. Either WordPress or Squarespace will provide a template for a website. So I have, I myself haven't been able to understand why Toastmasters clubs can't put a website up over the weekend and link it with the social media. So that's why I wanted to really understand whether anyone was trying to build a website on Joomla or something more complicated than that. But the content management system on WordPress is so easy to use that I'm after the answer to why people are doing that. One other thing. Perhaps I missed this, and if I have missed this and it's already done, Moira can admonish me and cut me out. What club are you on, and where's that club, please?
So it's called Spa Speakers. It's based in Leamington Spa, which is a town in Warwickshire in England. It's in the Midlands. It's about an hour from London on the an hour and a half from London on the train.
And just one last question: who's the president of your club this year?
So his name is Robert Jebakumar, and he's been a member for a couple of years now. He's originally from India. I can't remember where in India, where he was a member of Toastmasters in India, and then he moved over to England for a job. But he's great. He's really, really enthusiastic, very competent, really nice guy. He's done a great job.
And that's exactly what he said about you too, Tom.
Sorry?
That's exactly what Robert said about you, Tom Hebert. Very competent, very nice fella, confident, enthusiastic. Well done. And Tom, can I remind your members of Spa Speakers that they can listen to your interview at 4 o'clock on Saturday on the talk show Talkers, and we know I'll be listening to it as well.
Yeah. And
congratulations, and thank you again, Tom. And I know we're taking up some of your lunchtime. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, sir. Continued success.
It's no bother at all. Thank you very much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Hope the rest of the show goes well.
Thank you, Tom. Bye.
Bye.
Well done, Ted.
Thanks, Paul. We asked that question. I mentioned that at the start. He was a member of Spa Speakers. Leamington Spa. You were chatting with Moira, I think, at the time. Or you were sending chats or something.
Right.
Yeah, lovely young man. Lovely young man.
Gentlemen,
so already recorded.
Do you mind? I want to reboot, so I'm going to make Paul host.
Okay.
I've done something and I can't undo it, and it's making my life very awkward. So, Paul, make host.
You'll know when you're ready, Moira.
Sorry?
You can let us know when you're ready, or we're going to carry on as we are now.
Well, you can carry on chatting, but we won't be recording because I've got to reboot.
Okay.
I'm going to save the Audacity, and I will see you shortly.
Okay, thanks.
The interesting thing